Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, a conversation with Dr. Ernie Minton. He's the Dean of the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University. We're doing some innovative things on campus and raising money to transform the university into a next-generation land-grant institution. We'll also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, along with a weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat. Online at kswheat.com. In agricultural news, recently released quality information from U.S. Wheat adds a positive note to an otherwise disheartening 2022 wheat harvest. Despite the persistent drought conditions and limited yields, U.S. farmers produced one of the highest quality hard red winter wheat crops in years. Drought, the limiting factor throughout the growing season, and limited soil moisture at the start of the growing season directly limited the development of tillers, meaning there were fewer wheat heads and fewer kernels per head to fill up for harvest. But the lack of moisture also greatly reduced insect and disease pressure. And while there were fewer, smaller kernels, the kernel size was consistent in shape, size, and weight. That's favorable for those millers. As expected, the drought conditions, the average protein content, 13%, was high and exceeded the 2021 crop and the 5-year average. Additional milling and baking characteristics also met the benchmark, including a whole lot of things like stability, absorption, low volume, all good indicators of the value of the wheat crop to customers. Well, America has a shortage of diesel supply on hand, putting pressure on suppliers to get more into the fuel supply. Shortage is spreading from the east and moving at least one supplier to initiate emergency protocols. Mansfield Energy, a fuel supplier that says conditions are rapidly devolving, so they're requiring a 72-hour notice for deliveries to secure fuel and freight. Diesel is the fuel that trucks, trains, and ships fill their tanks with to move goods around the country and across the globe. Supplies are tight, partly because of Russian diesel imports are banned in the U.S. Diesel prices hit a record high of $5.81 a gallon back in June. Prices could go higher this winter if it's colder than expected. And USDA's Economic Research Service said genetically engineered seeds were commercially introduced in the U.S. in major crops in 1996. The adoption rates have increased rapidly. By 2008, more than 50% of corn, cotton, and soybean acres in the U.S. were planted with genetically engineered seed. The total acres of seed has even grown further now. More than 90% of corn, upland cotton, and soybeans are using those genetically engineered varieties. Genetically engineered crops are broadly classified as either herbicide-tolerant, insect-resistant, or a combination of both. So stay with us. After the break, Dr. Ernie Minton, the Dean of the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University, will join us.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas corn, with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. Mark your calendars for the second Grass and Grain Farm and Ranch Show, November 8th, 9th, and 10th at the National Guard Armory in Manhattan. Over 45,000 square feet of exhibits featuring the latest ag products, technology, and services. Parking and admission are free. Don't miss out. And we're pleased to be joined by Dr. Ernie Minton, who is the Dean of the Kansas State College of Agriculture. Dr. Minton, thanks so much for joining us.
Ken, I'm happy to be here and look forward to our discussion.
Well, this has been something we've been wanting to do, but about the time we think we want to do it, you had more announcements. So maybe folks are aware, maybe they're not, but we want to go into a little bit more of Kansas agriculture organizations really stepping up and making commitments to make investments within agriculture at Kansas State University.
Yeah, so I'll give just a little bit of background and then catch us up on where we are there, just in case folks don't kind of know the details. So at the essentially at the end of the legislative session, we became aware that there were some opportunities for K-State for new agriculture facilities. One bucket of money, $25 million, was available without a match requirement. And then we had the opportunity to compete for up to $25 million out of a larger $75 million pool. But that pool has a 3-to-1 match. So obviously for every dollar we receive out of that pool, we've got to raise 3. We set our goal at $25 million out of that pool. And so if we match that with $75 million, that's 100, and then the other $25 million bucket makes a total of 125 for us to work with. And I'll make the point before I'm finished that we think that's a start, because we do believe that we're going to exceed our fundraising goals. So a little bit about the timeline. You know, as I said, right around the time of the end of the legislative session, we found out about this. We got ourselves organized on campus, and about middle of July, we really got busy. And this is a partnership with President Linton, the leadership, and our ag team at the K-State Foundation, really trying to turn over every possibility. We started with individuals who have already shown a commitment to K-State in a big way, and ask them where they see themselves in this fundraising opportunity. And then we turned pretty quickly to key Kansas stakeholders. And so we visited with leadership from Kansas Farm Bureau, from the Kansas Livestock Association, the major grain commodities, and typically that was their executive director and usually their president, and just laid out the challenge to them. And essentially we said, we really, because we want this project to be transformational, we think it's a once in a career, maybe once in a lifetime opportunity to get some new facilities built, to really let us know, is this what they want? and they need? Is this what they want from K-State?
Right.
And just to shorten it up, they said they did. And fast forward to just a few weeks ago, we had the Farm Bureau and the Kansas soybean group at Manhattan at a football game, which they announced $5 million from Kansas Farm Bureau, $4 million commitment over 5 years for the Soybean Association and Commission. And we're so pleased with those lead gifts, really as statements about how important those stakeholders feel this project is, Ken.
We're talking with Dr. Ernie Minton, the Dean of the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University. We're going to take a break, come back and get more into the specifics of what those investments and maybe how you can be involved in investing in the future of the College of Agriculture at K-State in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
And our guest is Dr. Ernie Minton, who is the Dean of the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University. Dr. Minton, and we went to break, you talked about the investment by Kansas Farm Bureau, the Kansas Soybean Commission, to kind of get those key things started in the fundraising for the innovations going to happen on the campus. Many of us have been just waiting for this to happen. And so all y'all leadership to move this forward. So what's this money going to go to? What are some of the innovations that we are going to see on campus?
Ken, we when it became apparent that we had this opportunity and the total knew what the total was going to be, we really did study where we thought we could get the best ROI on those dollars. We've got a big backlog, and this is not news to our ag stakeholders, of things that need to be done here at K-State, which exceeds 125, but where could we have the biggest bang? So we elected to begin with one on-campus project and one that's on the North Campus. The on-campus project will really involve moving the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry into a new facility. And that's because the deferred maintenance in Schellenberger Hall and Feed Tech, those facilities in which those faculty members and students research and have their classes, the deferred maintenance of that building is really too much to justify renovation. So we've planned for a new structure that's strategically placed between Call Hall and Weber Hall on the corner right on campus, Mid-Campus Drive and Claflin Avenue. And so that will house Grain Sciences and Industry. But another really, really important feature, two things actually. One is we've asked the architects to design physical connections, in one case to Weber, a skywalk, and I think on the other side in Call Hall, one building is built into the side of the other. And this is really to remove barriers for collaboration and flow, both of faculty and students across those disciplines. And, if you think about it, milling, baking, those are really directly related, quite obviously, to the food industry. So we have grain scientists that work in those areas mingling with food scientists. And then on the livestock side, those involved in ruminant, non-ruminant nutrition, pet food too, for that matter, pet food nutrition, interacting with the faculty from grain science that are involved in the feed science and pet food programs. So this is the concept of enhancing interdisciplinarity and the opportunity for industry collaboration in those spaces. The other part of that is we've got significant renovations and updating to both Call and Weber. So we'll have 2 renovations sandwiched in the middle of a new building. But again, because that whole complex, when we include animal science and food science and then the grain science students, that's well over half of the students in the college. So we're reducing our deferred maintenance load and impacting a large number of students. Then quickly, the second project, north of the stadium, north of Kimball Avenue. As Kimball Avenue is expanding, we took the opportunity to sell some property there on the frontage road to the foundation, and we're moving some of our research facilities just a little bit north, but still very much in the mix of things there, close to the International Grains Program, the Kansas Wheat, the mills, and really creating new and innovative structures to support agronomy crop research, which will include, again, an opportunity for innovation space that will bring industry partners just shoulder to shoulder with faculty in agronomy, bio and ag engineering, and other disciplines to really advance precision agriculture, digital agriculture, advanced analytics, the kinds of tools that our Kansas agriculture stakeholders will need going forward.
So if folks want to help and contribute, there's all kinds of different ways. So how's the best way to make that happen?
Yeah, so thank you for raising that point. Because of the nature of this match and the requirements that the state has set for this match, we need to have our commitment by December 5th, so just a few weeks away. And so our contact in the K-State Foundation is Ms. Carrie Weefall. That's our lead. Certainly, if individuals want to get in touch with me, I can put them in touch with them as well. This will help us. Anything will help us get towards that $75 million match. That would be most appreciative. We're going to continue to raise funds beyond that. The biggest help would be before in that short time frame before December 5th. So that's how they could do that. We'd be really, really pleased for those who want to be a part of this exciting project.
All right, Dr. Minton, sir, thanks so much for taking time to visit with us, and we'll talk again, I'm sure, with an update. So again, appreciate your time.
Ken, thank you so much for having me on, and look forward to interacting with you and your listeners going forward.
Dr. Ernie Minton, the Dean of the College of Agriculture, K-State, has joined us. We'll have more coming up in just a moment.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Mental health is really important to me. Not only have I struggled myself, but I've watched other farmers struggle. I saw my grandfather struggle from time to time, and we're out here for hours on end by ourselves, and it just lets our mind race, about what if, what about that, the sacrifices that we're making. My kids aren't seeing me, my wife's not seeing me, what am I missing out at home? And there's a lot of things that we can't control that we think we can control. I credit my wife a lot for me going and seeking help. I respect all the women in her shoes that do what she does on a daily basis. I think I've become a stronger person by talking about it, and I hope that my story helps other farmers talk about their struggles and feel like it's okay to talk about it, because it's one of those things that if we don't talk about it, nobody knows that we're struggling, and the struggle is real.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Persistent drought after harvest and delayed planting could indicate a lower risk of wheat streak mosaic virus this year. Still, experts caution producers to continue monitoring and managing volunteer wheat as they plant this fall. Right now, we're thinking there's a slightly lower risk of wheat streak heading into the fall planting. This is largely due to extended drought that has limited the emergence of volunteer, especially out west, said Kelsey Anderson-Onifree, K-State Wheat and Forage Extension Specialist. But the caveat is that there are other hosts for curl mites out there in the landscape. Those mites can find a way and they can surprise us. In 2021, wheat streak mosaic virus was the third most significant disease to strike the Kansas wheat crop loss, according to Kansas Cooperative Plant Disease Survey report released in December 2021. Statewide, the estimated yield loss was 3.1%, equivalent to 11.6 million bushels. Anderson-Onifree warns growers not to be complacent in controlling volunteer wheat. Even in areas that did not have volunteer wheat emerged immediately after harvest, several other grassy species can play a host to wheat curl mites. Bermuda grass, barnyard grass, green foxtail, downy brome, rye brome, just to name a few. Her first suggestion is to make sure to destroy the remaining volunteer ahead of planting wheat or entering a fallow period. Another suggestion for high-risk fields is to plant wheat streak mosaic virus-resistant varieties like KS Dallas or Plains Gold Guardian. Managing for wheat streak mosaic virus doesn't stop at planting. Producers should monitor for wheat streak mosaic virus throughout the growing season. Learn more about how to stop the streak of the wheat streak mosaic virus, even in a drought year, at kansaswheat.com/wheatstreak.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
13,210. That's the number of children in Kansas who struggle with hunger. County Farm Bureaus and Farm Bureau Financial Services agents are working together to shrink this number. The End Hunger program has provided more than $150,000 to local projects that help fight hunger across the state. These projects have filled freezers at food pantries with local beef, provided healthy foods and information at farmers markets, fed children during the summer when school lunch programs aren't available. Help the 1 in 10 Kansans facing hunger by funding a project at kfb.org/endhunger.
To promote the successful transition of farming and ranching operations in Kansas, the Department of Agricultural Economics at Kansas State University has established the Office of Farm and Ranch Transition. Made possible through a grant, the office's first objective was to develop a land link program to match landowners looking to exit the business with younger beginning farmers and ranchers interested in owning and running their own operation. Pairings are based on the values and goals of both parties as well as the type of operations being sought. The office also provides one-on-one consultations and beginning farmer and rancher trainings. To provide more information about the new endeavor and succession planning in general, K-State will be holding 3 conferences in December. The dates and locations are December 13th in Colby, December 14th in Salina, and December 15th in Erie. The keynote speaker will be Shannon Farrell of Oklahoma State University. He is an associate professor of agricultural law. Farrell has an extensive background in estate planning and has conducted numerous workshops on the subject across the U.S. and Canada. Registration for the conference is $60. To register, go to agtransition.org. The registration deadline is December 1st.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good day. I'm Derek Hermish with Pinion. Halloween was last Monday and it was a trick-or-treat week. Russia pulled out of the pact they had made with NATO in allowing grain to move freely out of Ukraine through the Black Sea. Then 4 days later, Russia was like, just kidding. And they decided not to pull out and will participate until they perhaps change their minds later. There's more to it than that, but it's a story that's difficult to follow and even harder to explain when we don't have all the facts from the meetings that happen behind closed doors. The markets always paint a simple picture for you though. It's either up or down. Last Monday, wheat was up big on the threat of less grain shipments coming out of Ukraine, and Wednesday prices were down big as the threat subsided. Soybeans gained through the week and managed to hold up better with fundamental support as the U.S. manages to export soybeans surprisingly well over the last few weeks, even in the midst of all the barge traffic problems due to the record low river levels on the Mississippi. Corn and wheat exports do continue to lag behind last year's pace, however. I'm Derek Hermish. Have a good day.
That's our show this week. Be social with us at kansasagreport.net or on our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.